How many of you guys work every day with people? Raise your hand. Okay. How many of you guys have ever had a disappointment, a frustration, a misunderstanding? Anything? Yeah, good. What happens with life when there's a frustration, disappointment, misunderstanding? What do you guys experience? How do you do? How do you deal with it? Am I in front of this causing problems? Sorry. Oh, crap. How about everybody move like, no, just kidding. I'm going to be clear over here. In those moments, what happens to the quality of our lives? What happens to the quality of our performance in our lives? We're distracted, right? We're preoccupied with, oh gosh, I got to go home. My daughter's mad at me, or my husband's mad at me, or the person I'm going to work with is mad at me, and we can't shine. We're literally being handicapped in our ability to do things at work, and the quality of our life is diminished. When you think about how often you work with people, which is all day, every day, you would think by now we would have had some solutions that are just common sense. But the reality is, we're not learning how to deal with the most important parts of our life. Like, I don't remember taking any classes in grade school, elementary school, high school about dealing with conflict. Anybody? Right? I thought about my mom and dad. How did they deal with conflict? They did the old-fashioned way, don't argue in front of the kids. Anybody's parents do that? Okay. Anybody not do that where your parents were like literally like fighting in front of you? Okay, right. So we don't get a good example, but maybe we get a bad example. I grew up with 8 brothers. Your poor mother. I grew up with 8 brothers. When you have conflict with brothers, what do you think it looks like? Holes in the wall. You might have sons, right? Right? My mom finally said, I'm done. She bought a bunch of boxing gloves. There you go. Because that way there's less cut lips, right? You can beat each other up with boxing gloves. Black eye, a little bit of blood, that's it. So that's how she dealt with it. So here I am, I'm the nice guy. I was the guy that the girls would talk to about the boyfriends in high school. And then they'd go with their boyfriends in high school. And so I thought, I'm this really sensitive guy. Gosh, I wish my boyfriend talked to me like you. And I'm like, right? So there I am left, I'm thinking that this is going to be great. And then I get married. Okay, still no training in dealing with conflict. But I'm a nice guy. But now I don't know how to deal with conflict. If I deal with conflict the way I was raised with 8 brothers, I go to jail, right? My wife's leaving me fast. So I had no idea how to deal with conflict, not in a real meaningful way, and I didn't get trained. And now add that to, I'm a therapist. And in therapy, you learn all sorts of psychodynamics, relational dynamics, but the reality is the tools of conflict, how to deal with conflict, is still kind of esoteric. And then the therapist becomes the mediator. Like, who gets to bring their therapist home? Because my wife doesn't want her therapist home. That's me. She doesn't want me telling her all therapy stuff. She would wish I was a massage therapist. Right, Drew? Because if you're a massage therapist, what happens? Hey, baby, you're a professional. Let's go. As a marriage therapist, it's not, hey, let's go. It's not that at all. Help me work me through my problems, babe. That's not usually what happens. But then, anyway, that's a different story. So here I am trying to figure out how to deal with my own conflict, and the relational tools are pathetic. So I decided I'm going to be the lab rat. I'm going to try to figure out how to deal with conflict when it happens. In 1970, a guy came up with the I statement. Who's heard of the I statement? Raise your hand. Uh-huh. She's the only one. 2. That's 2. Three people have heard the I statement. Anyone else hear the I statement? I feel when you because. Okay, that was the 1970s. That hasn't changed much. Someone tacked on something at the end. I feel when you because, and I'd really like it if you would, and they fill in the blank. That does not sound like a conversation. That sounds like a drive-through order, right? This is what I would like. Thank you. Nice conversation. There was no conversation. And in the real world, we have conversations. We have situations where someone's frustrated, disappointed, miffed, or bugged with us, and then when they bring that up, they're not always sweet and kind. Anyone experience that in their life? Right. Anyone have kids? Right? Are they careful with the way they communicate? Mom, I want to make sure this is clear, direct, and sensitive when I complain to you about how unfair life is. No. They're a victim, and you're the perpetrator. So how do we deal with those nitty-gritty moments when it makes the difference between a breakdown or a breakthrough in our lives? And we're not trained. So I only had I figured about a half an hour. How do I get you the most important information so that when you walk away from this meeting, you'll go, I now know how to deal with those situations so much better. So I've condensed it down into the 2 skills to transform any relationship. Are you ready? You ready?
I'm ready.
Who's ready?
Bring it on.
Right? Hallelujah, right? Sometimes I wish I was one of those Baptist ministers where people say, hallelujah, I believe. So if you want to say that to make me feel good, that's cool, okay? You guys ready for this? Yes, let's do this. Okay. This is going to be, I do this little thingy to have you follow me on social media because I always forget. Follow me on social media. Okay. 2 tools. Conflict is inevitable. People try to avoid conflict thinking that'll be helpful. It's impossible. You cannot avoid conflict. It either builds or it's delayed. It's the reality. So I'm going to walk you through the model of conflict. We have expectations, whether written or not written, we have expectations. Even if they were totally clear, mutually understood, and defined, and literally written out in a document. There's another piece called human weakness. People are lazy. They misunderstand. They miscommunicate. There's a confirmation bias, not going into it. Memory issues. I forgot. And there's a whole list more about being human. So even if we totally understood and mutually agreed about what our expectations are, chances are you're going to be disappointed because things are going to happen that are real life. And when disappointments happen, we have conflict. Some people choose to avoid the conflict. They don't want to ruin the peace, so they don't say anything out loud. But what happens? They drip it like toxic waste by how loud they shut the cupboard door, right? You're like, is something wrong? No, why? I'm fine. Everything's good? Great. They leak it. They'll be passive aggressive. So they don't get totally aggressive because that would ruin the peace. We don't get trained on how to deal with conflict. When conflict happens, we either need to complain, bring it up, or we're the recipient of someone else's complaint. So there's two situations where I want you to be prepared for, because this is going to be real life. You're going to need to complain. By show of hands, how many of you ever feel a need to complain? Thank you, that's all of you. How many of you have ever been complained to besides my wife? How many have you been complained to? Have they always been sensitive and understanding in their complaint? Or are they absolutely certain of your evil nature in the declaration of the complaint that they have not missed any information, it is 100% true, You don't deserve my respect. You should die. I'm a good guy. I haven't killed you. You're welcome, right? That's reality. From our 4-year-old to the person we've been working with for 40 years. Same temperature, same types of interaction, same process. Here's some tools that you can use. So we're going to talk about complaining and responding. So the first formula, how to complain. I actually have 4 steps of complaining. And if you follow these 4 steps, it's a little bit different than the I feel when you because that's not a conversation, that's a monologue. I want to hijack the other person's defensiveness. Wouldn't that be nice? Get in their mind, sabotage their own thinking. And the other thing I'm going to do is I am going to fence the conflict. I think fencing like this kind of fencing, not like build things, fencing. So when I say fencing conflict, it's sword fight. So we're going to talk about these things, and as we do, I want you to see if you can figure out what are the 2 skills I need to have to follow these 2 formulas. Here's the card you can take a picture of because there's no way you can read that from over there. At the end of our thingy today, there's going to be a little QR code. If you fill in that, if you do the little questionnaire, there's like 4 questions I ask for feedback. I'll send you the JPEG of these if you want them. 4 steps of complaining. Now I have 4 steps of complaining, but I'm going to simplify it. I'm going to turn it into 3, almost with magic. Step 1, I'm stealing the I statement, okay, but I'm not stopping there because I want to sabotage their defensiveness. So the first one is I'm going to share my feelings and reasons. What's my story? I feel, and then if you really want that person to hear you longer, use vulnerable feelings. Throw out some words that are more vulnerable and less hostile in your feeling vocabulary. Throw something out. Sad. What else? Depressed, emotional. What else?
Afraid.
I'm afraid.
Scared.
What? Scared. Oh, keep going. It's good. What?
Yes.
We're moving into the hostile realm, okay? Right, but you could say it sensitively. I'm pissed. See? So if I could say, oh, I'm so angry. You could probably pull that off if the tone matches, right? But what were you saying? Did you say? Surprised. Right? Not loved. Oh. Angry. We're moving hostile, okay? The reason why is if you use hostile vocabulary, there's a faster process for them to get defensive. They have to be protective. If you use vulnerability vocabulary, you trigger empathy. So hostile, reactive defensiveness. If you're soft and vulnerable, you trigger, not control, you trigger empathy. So if I want my wife to listen all the way, if I go hostile, she'll tune me out and get defensive, right? Which isn't helpful for my complaint. I want her to feel the pain and discomfort that I'm sharing and thank me for my expression. Wouldn't that be nice? She's thinking, Emil, you're a speaker. You're not a magician. What are you doing? Okay, so that's step 1. Step 2 and step 3 I'm going to combine. Step 2 is a transition phrase. But if I put myself in your shoes, if I take a step back, if I look at it from a different point of view. Step 2 is just the phrase. If you don't use a transition phrase, then they don't know that you've transitioned into step 3, which is you share their feelings and story. How do they see it? What's from their point of view? You spend as much time as you want in understanding them, they don't mind, as long as it's sincere. If you're sarcastic or you're flippant, that's going to seem manipulative. Really understand it from their point of view. Understanding their point of view releases oxytocin in them, which makes them trust and feel closer to you. And if they're trusting and feel closer to you, then they feel safe. Safety plus confusion is curiosity. Safety and confusion is curiosity. Confusion and not feeling safe is anxiety. So if I want someone to open up their mind, they can't be anxious. They got to be curious. Then tell me, why didn't you do the thing that you said you were going to do? Now they're curious to hear what I have to say. So I can literally change their chemistry without their permission or their buy-in. I can do that single-handedly. Change their chemistry, you change their mind. After I've done the best job I could at putting myself in their shoes, seeing it from their point of view, then I just check in. Am I close? What am I missing, babe? Make sense? Okay. I'm going to have you guys practice. I need someone who can complain. Anybody got something, anything they can complain about? This is safe, I hope, for everybody. Would you complain?
They don't have any Coca-Cola.
They have no Coca, all Pepsi. I mean, that's trauma. That's trauma. That's rough. Now I'm pissed. And I think it's justifiable. That's justifiable. Anybody have a good complaint with something, like they're serious, like we could use that. I mean, I'll take it. Yeah. What's something?
The market absolutely sucks.
Who could you complain to? Who are you complaining to? Because complaining about life, you could complain to God, right? God, I'm really frustrated because this market sucks. Or you can complain to the president, write him a letter. Good luck, okay. Who are you interacting with that frustrates, miffs, bugs, disappoints you? What? Buyers, okay? Can you imagine a buyer disappointing you?
Yes.
Anyone ever experienced that? And as the professional that you are, you're supposed to smile. It's okay. I gave up dinner with my husband today, and we're going to see our therapist tomorrow. It's not a big deal, right? We're going to be disappointed, and we feel like our hands are tied behind our back because we have to be nice. How would you like to complain to them and have them say, thank you and I'm sorry, and I want to do business with you more? Should we try it? Give me a scenario where what happened that this buyer disappointed you. You guys have had this experience. What's something a buyer could do to disappoint, frustrate, miff, or bug?
Back out.
Back out. Great. Let's create a scenario. I love the property. We're in. We've even prayed about it. Confirmation. We're going to buy. Let's do this. Okay, here's the meeting. You've sacrificed things that are important to you, right? Because this is important. This is a meeting. And they back out. How do you feel?
Disappointed.
Pissed off.
Disappointed? Not pissed off yet. We're hostile.
Frustrated.
Frustrated. Rejected. Oh. Betrayed. Oh gosh, I'm going to cry. Confused. We're making a casserole of vulnerability that they're going to eat. Okay? So now I've got 3 or 4 words. Why do I feel hurt, betrayed, disappointed, frustrated? Why? Tell me the story.
Expectations.
Okay, give me the story. What's the story?
I was expecting to make a sale and was expecting to be able to pay some money on my kids' college.
Right.
And now I can't do it.
And what else? Keep going.
And I took time away from other things.
Yeah.
This person doesn't care about my time.
I feel hurt because they didn't care about my time. I thought we had a relationship, that we were working together. Okay? Now I blend that together in a story. These are the feelings, these are the reasons. I feel hurt, disappointed, I'm frustrated, I'm sad. Now I tell the story. I thought we had a relationship where we could communicate, that we were working together on this, and then for you to have this appointment and not show up when I gave up doing other things, I felt like you didn't respect my time. Like what I was doing didn't matter. Not only that is, I put so much time and effort into this deal, went out of my way to help you out, and then for you not even show up or call, I'm really hurt and disappointed. I was counting on this. Okay? Now you can see they're like going, oh, poop. Oh, poop. Never had this happen. Aren't you supposed to just smile and say it's no big deal? Because that's what the last one did 20 weeks ago, right? But we don't stop there. I want to drive that into their soul, right? And how do I do that? By hijacking their natural defensiveness. Why didn't they call you? And make me fall in love with them. Don't say because they're inconsiderate, selfish idiots. That's not going to sell. Why did they back out? Why didn't they call you and let you know? Make me fall in love. You've heard all of the reasons. Make me fall in love. Emergency could have come up.
Lost their job.
Lost their job and their situation changed. And why wouldn't they call you? Why wouldn't they tell you?
Embarrassed.
Oh, they're embarrassed. Oh, I'm falling in love with them.
Or fearful.
They're fearful. What are they afraid of?
The fact that they're backing out on a commitment.
And why would they be afraid? They're afraid of,
Shame.
yeah, they're ashamed. They're disappointing you, right? Can you feel the emotion that's coming now?
They don't want to have an awkward conversation.
They what?
They don't want to have an awkward
Oh, they don't want to have an awkward conversation. They don't know what to say. They don't know how to bring it up. Hey, you know how we had that whole deal we've been working on for weeks, and you've bent over backwards to make this happen, and I told you I'm totally in. I'm backing out. That'd be a hard conversation to have. But if so, I'm going to wrap it up. I put it in one big story. But if I put myself in your shoes, this is something we've been working on for a while. You don't want to have an awkward conversation, or an emergency came up, something happened where you couldn't tell me. And then you felt so awkward because you didn't want to disappoint me. Right? How are they feeling? Beautifully awful. Now I say, am I close? What am I missing? That's the last thing I say. And then what would they say? Whatever you're missing, if they, oh, that's totally it. Do they respect you more? Right. Will they do business with you again, probably? Absolutely. Are they going to tell their friends how amazing you are? Yeah. So if I did the nice thing, don't make a big deal about it, and then just be resentful, what happens when I go home? My dog or my husband's going to get kicked. Right? Whether I like to admit it or not, that frustration will leak out in other areas of my life. I might even use that story to feed my insecurity about how I am destined to not succeed. Thank you, your insecurity says. I was running out of information. This is helpful. Now I can keep you down. See, if you don't handle that situation very good, it's not about the situation anymore. It's about your very soul. It's about the quality of your life. And that's just with complaining. How many of you could come up with something to complain about every day? Every one of you should. Every one of you should. People have said, Dale Carnegie has said, Dr. Gottman has said, you shouldn't complain. I say bull crap. If you don't complain, you don't care. Hallelujah. Someone say hallelujah, right? Hallelujah. Thank you. If you don't complain, you don't care. How we complain makes a difference, please. Please do.
I tend, as I look back upon myself, I don't think I complain that much. I
Right.
accept it and deal with it and
Uh-huh.
try my best to understand it and let it go.
Okay. And then what happens? Does it change anything? Does it change the situation? If you don't give feedback about how people can meet your needs and respect you more, does it change anything? Does it help them?
No.
Mm-mm. So what I'm doing is I'm caring more about my comfort than the outcome or the connection. It's not that I don't care, period, which is very harsh for me to say. It's I don't care enough about it to change it. And there are important people in your life that you will rely on in the relationship for the rest of your life. If we don't have boundaries, how do we communicate that? We communicate that through complaining. And how do we complain? By complaining to connect in a way that hijacks their natural defensiveness and creates a sense of closure. Thank you. How am I doing? Yeah, go ahead.
Could you, in the context of this conversation, define how you're using complaints? I think that might
Yeah.
help the process.
Yeah. Complaining is the process of sharing your feelings and opinions. That's it. It has such a negative connotation, but I don't know another word without saying sharing your feelings in a clear and direct and sensitive way and support your boundaries. So I just use complaining. If you have a better word, tell me, because I'll probably change it if you find a better one. You know? I could say sharing, raising concerns, right? That's nice. Yeah, good. I'll take it in consideration. I'll bite on that. I'll chew on it. Appreciate it. All right. Questions about the process? Okay, I'm not expecting you to memorize it because it'll take time to practice. But as soon as I'm done with this process, they're going to say something. And I know they are. And I know exactly what they're going to say. Okay, not word for word, but that sounded really good, right? Okay, as soon as I'm done, they're going to say something. In their explanation, they either have a criticism, question, declaration, or command. They only have 4 options. And since I know they only have 4, I can literally prepare for all 4. Criticisms are a statement about you or your behavior. Well, you didn't let me know. You didn't remind me. You didn't send me a text. You said that you're going to call me and you didn't. It doesn't mean it's true or not. A criticism is a statement about you or your behavior that starts with the word you. A question is a request for information. If it's not a request for information, it is not a question, even if it has a question mark at the end of the statement. Emil, have you always been this stupid? That's not a question, okay? That's rhetorical or loaded. Does that make sense? So just because it has a question mark doesn't make it a question. If it's a request for information, that's a question. A declaration is a statement about me, the speaker, or the situation. This is ridiculous. I'm frustrated. That's not what I said. It doesn't matter. Okay, that's about me or the situation. Then there are commands. You're not going to get commands from everybody. Certain types of situations will get commands. Commands are an order or a directive. It's telling you to do something. Grow up. Leave me alone. As parents, we might issue a command. Go to your room. Stop talking. Get your plate. Okay, those are commands. I can do a nice command. Please pick up your stuff. Okay, that's still a command, but it's nice. Okay, criticisms aren't mean or nice. Commands aren't mean or nice. But in conflict, they feel icky. Okay, so don't judge whether that's nice or not. It's just, if it's icky, it's probably negative contention, and we want to be able to handle that moment, because that's when it's hard. When people criticize your cooking by saying how wonderful it is, no one has a problem with that. But when it's negative, it's like, ow, icky, defend myself, which creates a problem. I want to hijack that. So there's only 4. There's only 4. And if you can come up with more, please tell me. I haven't come up with more. And for each one, there's a response. Before we move on, I'm going to play a game with you. I'm going to make a statement. You tell me which category it fits in. You ready? You're not listening to what I'm saying. What is it? Why is it a criticism?
Because it says you.
Mm-hmm. I don't feel heard. What is it, guys? Are you listening? You don't seem to care. This is ridiculous. We're going nowhere. That's not what I'm trying to say. I've had it. I've had it. What is it? Why is it a declaration? Right, because I didn't say you, right? And it's not a question. So let me super simplify it. Can you guys say, with any degree of confidence, you can tell if a statement starts with the word you? Raise your hand. Some of you didn't raise your hand, and I'm concerned now. Okay? I don't know. I'm just, when you say you, do you mean like the word you or the letter? Okay, the word you. That's what I meant. Right? Everyone can tell. See, if I'm in a situation of conflict, what happens is my limbic system kicks in. And once my limbic system kicks in, it hijacks the reasoning part of me. And I react. That's why I'm defensive. That's totally natural, but ineffective. So what I need to do is engage the frontal cortex, my reasoning part. Well, that's really hard to do. But if all I have to do is go, what kind of statement was that? What did it start with? Boom! As soon as I do that, frontal cortex is engaged. Now I can use reasoning. So once I connect into that frontal cortex, oh, that was the word you, so what am I supposed to do with that? See, I'm frontal cortexing now. Okay, what do? Now I do my response. I can literally get out of my limbic system into my frontal cortex reasoning simply by identifying the first word of the statement. Starts with you, criticism. We can feel when someone wants to know something. There's an emotional feeling. It's less intense. Well, it still can be intense, but it's less hostile. We feel that. So now I simplify it. If it doesn't start with the word you, and it's not a request, then by default, it's a declaration or command. Fair? So now watch the response. If it's a criticism, I do the exact opposite of what my amygdala is telling me to do. Don't defend. The opposite. Embrace. I get a criticism, I'm going to agree with what is true. Nothing more, nothing less. In fact, a strategic agreement is disagreeing strategically. Okay? So if my wife says to me, Emil, you never pick up after yourself, I say, there have been a lot of times recently where I have not been picking up after myself all the way. Which means most of the time I've been doing pretty good, but recently I suck. Does that make sense? So I can disagree without being disagreeable when I'm agreeable, strategically. Make sense? You even got this, right? Okay, I can tease him. He's fun to tease. You guys know him? If you don't, you're missing out. This guy's funny. Okay. So when I get a criticism, I agree with what's true, nothing more, nothing less. All right? Let's practice real quick. Think of a criticism someone might say to you, whether true or not, that you might hear. At work, at home, it doesn't matter.
Oh, you're so good looking.
I hate that. You get the same as me. You're so handsome. Oh. And so I'd have to agree with what's true. You're right. It's a burden I carry. What's a criticism?
You don't listen.
You don't listen. Any other guys hear that? Because the only dudes were saying that. Okay. I'm just saying. Okay. What's true about that? That you don't listen? What's true about that?
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening.
So what's true about that?
The person doesn't feel listened to.
They don't feel listened to, but that's their feeling. What's true about the objective reality?
Sometimes I'm preoccupied.
That's why, right? So sometimes I'm not listening as good as I should be, right? This is an art. We have to find the language that describes what's true without agreeing with too much or too little. Why isn't important to the person who's complaining yet. I have to create beautiful confusion, understanding and safety and confusion for them to be curious. So I have to say, you know what, you're right. Sometimes, especially just recently, I wasn't paying attention like I should have. Now what are they going to say? What are they going to say? Are you willing to check in? Or what else would they say? Why aren't you listening? Or what else? What's going on? Ho, ho, ho. Number two, the question comes, right? Once they feel understood, then they get confused. They go, well, what's going on? How come you won't listen? What are you thinking about? Why are you preoccupied? Why won't you pay attention? Or I'll give you a command. Put your phone down. Pay attention. See, that's a command. They could even do another criticism. You never listen to me. Or, I'm tired of this. This is ridiculous. I shouldn't have to beg for your attention. There's only 4 options. That's it. Go for it.
So what if you are dealing with an unreasonable person that like poses a question really as a complaint? Why are you so
Right.
stupid? Like why?
If you get a question that's not a question, I'm going to kick it right back to him and say, what do you mean? Then they have to rephrase it. Okay? So if it's a loaded question that you're like going, I'm feeling kind of trapped, just say, what do you mean? Why would you say that? So if you get a criticism that's not fair or true, you don't even care. You're like, I have no idea where this is going. What do you mean? Then they explain it either as a criticism, question, or declaration. Well, why didn't you do the one thing that I asked you to do today? Then you can answer the question. Go ahead.
So do you have a pair of glasses that we can put on, like the spy glasses?
Dude!
To say what
Right.
or
An AI? Wouldn't that be awesome? Oh,
now this. Now
dude, that would be so sick. Imagine glasses, right? That can hear what people say. And flashing on the glasses say, agree with what's true, agree with what's true, agree with what's true.
Exactly.
We're going to be rich.
I need that.
Do they?
I need that.
I'm on. And now we just need to integrate AI to tell me, and it'd be nice if there would also say, you're absolutely right.
A little hairpiece.
Oh, man.
I'm paying.
Until we pay for it, we got to train our brains for it. Deal? Or else we're all screwed. Okay? But I love that idea. Have a system where as soon as we hear the word you, we go, you're right. Not period, you're right, and then qualify it. If the criticism comes and there's no truth to it, say, what do you mean? In fact, any statement that you're like going, what? Just say, what do you mean? Why would you say that? Where's that coming from? Seek for more clarification, because that buys you time and strategy. Oh dear, how am I doing on time? I'm stressed. Oh, crackers. All right. I'd like to bear my testimony. I know this church is true. If you want to talk to me afterwards, please do. There's more. But what?
I was gonna say, you can take 5 more minutes.
You guys okay if I keep?
Yeah.
Is this helpful? Okay. So once we get the criticism, that's the hardest thing to do. You deal with the criticism by agreeing with what's true. There are so many psychological, personal, benefits of doing that, let alone the relational impact it's going to have. So train yourself to agree with what's true. Don't apologize, just agree with what's true. If you get a question, just answer the question. Don't excuse the behavior, just answer the question. If my wife says, Emil, why can't you put your stuff in the dirty clothes? Why don't you do that? Okay, let's be honest, what's the truth? I'm lazy. That's the truth. What if I say, I was in a hurry? Is that going to fly? No, because my wife's going to say, okay, how much longer does it actually take to not put him here but put him there? Is that like, because that's bullcrap, right? That's not going to fly. So if I say I'm in a hurry, what if I say I forgot? What am I sending a message to my wife? See? Just own it. Get your spanking. I'm lazy. Bang. You're done. Then she can say, don't be lazy. What's that called? Yes. What else could she say? Why are you being lazy? What's that called? Question. What else could she say? You're a jerk. What's that called? See, you could see it, right? There's only so far they can go. Now the other one that creates the emotional connection, and that's the declarations or the commands. If we get a declaration or a command, we just capture the emotion. Does this sound familiar from our complaint? We put ourselves in their shoes, right? What's the emotion that they have when they say, you know what, I've had it, I am done, I'm sick of picking up your stuff. Or, I've had it, we're done with this. Or, what's the emotion? They're frustrated. That's going to be a popular word, by the way. What else? What are some of the emotions they have? Stressed out. Exhausted. Yeah. What if I say something like this? I just can't do this anymore. I'm just done. I can't do it. Overwhelmed? What else? I'm fishing. Divorce. I'm defeated, right? I'm hopeless. I'm exhausted. There's magic when you find the right words and the right story. It releases what? What's the hormone? Oxytocin. And what does oxytocin do? It bonds us. I haven't even solved the problem yet, guys. Right? And now I'm connecting with my partner or my kid or my sister or my boss or my coworker or my client. We haven't even solved the problem. I've created trust before we've solved the problem. People focus on solving the problem as if that makes the problem go away. No, the problem is the relationship. The symptom is the issue. That's the issue. We can't solve that and think things are going to be good. I had 2 clients coming in. They're talking about finances. They sit on each side of the couch, talking about money, right? With the money I make, I'll pay these bills, A, B, and C. With the money you make, you pay these bills. Does that sound fair to you? Fine, fine. Problem solved. Great, nicely done, solved the problem, and you still hate each other. So then why do you hate each other if the problem's solved? The resolution of the problem's taken care of, but not the important thing, the relationship. Solve the problem? That's not the problem, that's the symptom. The problem is this, the quality of our life. Harvard study, I'll wrap this up. Harvard study, anybody heard about the 75-year longitudinal study? Glueck and Glick, or Grant and Glueck. That's a really weird name. 75-year longitudinal study, they're studying happiness and quality and satisfaction in life. The biggest impact in the quality of life is the quality of their relationships, the most important relationships. Anybody surprised by that? Not money, not prestige, but the quality of their relationship. Another study comes out by Vaillant, French people from Canada. The biggest factor that contributes to the health of a relationship is how they deal with conflict. Does that surprise anybody? So if I boil this all down, the overall quality of your life depends on these 2 skills. Do you guys figure them out yet? I know it's not fair. Vulnerability and validation. You get your black belt in vulnerability and validation, you can handle anybody at any time. Whether they're crazy, which includes teenagers, or normal people. Thanks for your time.